year, Mr. President, over 4,000 teens are killed each year by alcohol-related deaths. These deaths are the result of drunk driving, alcohol poisoning, and alcohol-induced organ failure. According to the National Institute on Alcohol Abuse and Alcoholism, apparently 1/3 of underage Americans reported to drinking alcohol with the intention of getting drunk. While the courses are widely varied by state and district, American public schools are required to teach students about the dangers of alcohol and recreational drugs, such as cannabis. Health teachers promote sobriety and abstinence in a just say no stance towards substances. This steers some students away from engaging in underage drinking, but not all. Teenagers are taught the dangerous physical and mental effects of alcohol, but many choose to engage.
We want to continue to decrease those numbers. We want to continue to reduce the number of youth that are using substances, particularly underage, and we have made a lot of good progress.
We do have, substance use disorder in this country is not new. More people die actually from alcohol and alcohol use disorder annually than illegal drugs. But really, this is not a problem that we got into overnight, and it's not going to be solved overnight.
In order to decrease the negative effects of teen substance use, we believe the curriculum surrounding alcohol and cannabis education should be updated to educating safe practices and not just promoting sobriety. If teenagers are going to drink even though they know the risks, it's better for them to know how to drink responsibly. By teaching safe drinking practices like eating beforehand, pacing yourself, and not letting anyone else make or hold your drink, teenagers are less likely to suffer from the negative consequences alcohol can cause. According to Professor Halpern Fisher, director of Stanford University's Reach Lab, the most important piece of this curriculum is not to use, but if they are using or in situations where they might be using, we are just trying to keep them safe.
In looking at harm reduction, the focus is understanding that person could stop using substances at any time, and they need to be alive to do that.
Similarly to alcohol, students are taught to refrain from using all drugs, marijuana included. The dangers of cannabis and the quote-unquote bad path that the drug can take you on is the extent of what is taught to students. The outdated approach of the just say no stance that the DARE, Drug Abuse Resistance Education, program, as well as other prominent programs institutionalized in the school system, is not cutting it. The origins of the just say no stance date all the way back to the 1980s, popularized as Nancy Reagan's First Lady initiative. According to the Drug Policy Alliance, programs like DARE don't give students the tools they need to make safe decisions or get help if problems with alcohol and other drugs do occur. Furthermore, abstinence-only education too often has the effect of making teenagers cynical about any drug information coming from adults.
Prevention programming in particular for youth substance use, programs that are focusing on just say no as the only strategy are not shown to be effective.
The Youth Risk Behavioral Survey, released this past February by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, conveyed alarming findings of the prevalence of mental health or substance use disorder among our nation's youth. The report advances the critical need for schools to expand school-based services and to connect youth and families to community-based sources of care.
Approximately 1/3 of American teens have reported to using marijuana. This shows how being told to just say no to drugs is not an effective way for underage Americans to stay safe from substances. An ideal curriculum surrounding marijuana usage in teens would include education on how to practice safely. For example, students that are going to smoke should be taught to only smoke weed in plant form as opposed to THC vape cartridges. These cartridges can be laced with more harmful drugs. This new program would also emphasize staying away from mixing substances as opposed to refraining from any substance as a whole.
To see those downward trends in youth substance use, you can do a couple things. I think education is so important, and that can take place in a lot of different arenas. It can be with youth, it can be with parents, really focusing on, sharing the facts, sharing how substance use can affect the teen brain.
However, some researchers suggest that drug and alcohol use is on the decline following the pandemic. When Dr. Nora Valco, director of National Institute of Drug Abuse, commented on the state of the drug abuse following the pandemic, she said that drug abuse was unprecedented and highlights one of the unexpected potential consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused seismic shifts in the day-to-day life of adolescents.
And I think you can look at this in a couple ways. You can say, okay, 1 in 5 students across the U.S. used alcohol, or you can say, 4 in 5 didn't.
However, in recent years following the pandemic, these claims have been disproven. It was discovered later that this decrease was developed due to a lack of availability at the time and not a shift in teenagers. Abstinence is the only safe way to approach substances. While ideal, this lifestyle is not the reality for many teenagers. If teenagers will be using substances regardless of knowing the risks, it is crucial for them to know how to use these substances safely. 1/3 of teens are drinking. 1/3 of teens are smoking. When you withhold information, you are risking lives. Do you want to risk the lives of 1/3 of American teenagers? What are those lives worth to you?